What's up guys, it's Alex the Magician here, back for another Heroes 3 tier list video, and in this one we're continuing the creature upgrades tier list by ranking the tier 3 upgrades. So once again, it is my opinion, but do let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you guys disagree with something, if you would rank something differently, and why. I'm always curious to hear your opinions as well. So let's just go ahead and get into this. All right, at the very bottom, we are going to rank the Beholder and Orc Chieftain. So really, these are here because they are super underwhelming upgrades. They don't really do a whole lot, and you will pretty much never go for these. Like, I think I've gone for a Beholder upgrade like once when I ended up finding, I think, a box of the regular beholders, and then the upgrade is called Evil Eyes, and I wanted to consolidate my stack and make them a little bit better, and that was basically how I was doing the break because the biome was just really bad. So that was like only one game out of, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand games that I've played so far. So I would say, yeah, really underwhelming upgrades for both of them. So as far as the Beholder upgrade goes, it increases their attack and defense by 1. It gives them more shots from 12 to 24, and it increases their speed by 2, I believe. So, I mean, while the speed increase can be nice by allowing them to move before something else moves, it really doesn't give them anything else, the upgrade, because the regular beholders have no melee penalty as well. So honestly, I would say the regular ones are almost just as good as the Evil Eyes. And as far as the Orc Chieftains go, that upgrade is also pretty underwhelming. All it does is increase their speed by 1 from 4 to 5, and increases their health from 15 to 20. So I could see the health increase play a role, since usually the orcs are going to be meat basically for something like hives or other fights where you would need to take some hits. So the health increase is nice. That basically gives you 25% more tanking. Actually, it's more than 25%. It's 33% more HP from the regular orcs. But overall, both of these pretty underwhelming. I would be surprised to see anybody actually go for these upgrades in a real PvP game. Alright, next I'm going to rank the Wraiths and the Royal Gryphons. So these are not bad, but their utility and their use is kind of limited. So the Wraiths get an increase in speed from 5 to 7, and they get the mana drain ability, which really is one of the only reasons to actually upgrade them. Well, you could also argue the fact that if you upgrade them, you can get first move and pickets if all you have is a Wraith stack and skeletons. So that way you can have a Wraith 1 stack that moves first because it will have speed 8 on dirt terrain, and then you can haste your skeletons and outspeed the Wolf Raiders, so you can take pickets that way. But really the biggest use for these would be kind of draining mana from your opponent. So it's really the only thing. It can sometimes make a difference. Sometimes it can really help, where let's say you get a bunch of Wraiths and your opponent is relying on mana, and that's what he's relying on, and you just upgrade your Wraiths and send side heroes at him with just Wraith 1 stacks and drain his mana that way. So that's a tactic that can work. However, in those cases, you will usually not have a huge number of Wraiths by just building them in your town. So you will probably be relying on like a Wraith's box or something like that in those situations. And, the number of times that that's actually going to come into play is going to be very small as well. So I would say, not a great upgrade. While it's decent in terms of, how that use can help you win games, draining your opponent's mana. You just don't see it happen that often. And, usually as Necro, you have other priorities, so you will not be wasting a build day to upgrade your Wraiths. All right, and as far as the Royal Gryphons go, kind of a similar situation with the fact that you just usually don't want to be wasting an upgrade, wasting a day building the upgrade. You usually don't even build Gryphons as castle, but there can be potential for using these. There was actually a game where I couldn't find a unit to outspeed an enchanter's guard to a Portal of Glory, and I had to build basically Royal Gryphons to do that, and I was actually able to take the Portal of Glory and still build angels in town. So if you need something fast, they'll have speed 9, so the upgrade itself increases the attack and defense by 1, and it increases their speed by 3, and it also gives them unlimited retaliations. So the regular Gryphons retaliate twice, the Royal Gryphons retaliate an unlimited amount of times. So while it's decent on paper, again, you just don't really see it come into play that often. And, usually you're just not going to have large enough numbers of Royal Gryphons to really make a difference and really justify spending a day building them. Save for certain situations like what I described where you really need something to outspeed whatever you're fighting so that you get first move so that you can either haste or use slow or what have you. So it can help, but again, usually you will have better options. Okay, next I'm going to rank the Iron Golems. So this upgrade I do like. It's pretty good. And one of the biggest reasons to get this upgrade is the magic resistance. So the regular golems, the stone golems, they have 50% magic resistance. These guys have 75% magic resistance. So that can really help you in situations where you're trying to Armageddon the break, for example, or you're trying to arm a bomb or something like that, so that these guys are going to be very likely to still survive the Armageddon. So I would say that's probably the biggest use for them. The upgrade also increases their attack by 2 and their speed by 2 and their health by 5. So overall, a pretty decent upgrade. If you are relying on golems, like some people start with Josephine or something like that, I can definitely see this upgrade being good, especially since, that speed upgrade is quite important since the regular golems are just really slow. But on snow, these guys will have speed 6, and then if you haste them, that will make them pretty decent. But still, I feel like personally their biggest use is that magic resistance, since most of the time, if you don't use them for that, they just end up being meat in like hives or something like that. I personally am not a huge fan of the Josephine start with tower, but some people do prefer it. So if that is your jam, then I can definitely see this upgrade being something that you do. Alright, so next I'm going to rank the Cerberai and the Corsairs. So decent upgrades, and they are both on the same tier because they get the similar ability. So they both get no retaliation with their upgrade. The Cerberai also gets the 3-headed attack, so it attacks whatever is in front of them. So basically you can attack 3 hexes instead of just 1. And that combined with the no retaliation is pretty decent. Also, the upgrade increases their defense by 2 and their speed by 1. So overall, pretty solid upgrade. And if you happen to find a box of either Hellhounds or Cerberai, you can definitely rely on these with their speed and their no retaliation. They can definitely be pretty useful. But if that doesn't happen, then usually you're not necessarily going to be doing this because, it's, again, you're probably not going to have large enough numbers of these to really make that much of a difference. So building them is not necessarily going to be the best use of your build. But again, you know, sometimes if you do happen to need a faster unit and you don't have any better options, well, with Inferno, you usually do, because you'll be building a Freet or something like that. But still, these guys can come in handy. All right, and as far as the Corsairs go, so they also get the no enemy retaliation ability. They have no melee penalty, same as the regular pirates. Their stats increase by 2, attack and defense, and their speed increases by 1. The only problem that I have with this upgrade, so overall pretty solid, and once again the no retaliation is pretty good. That can make them pretty useful. The only problem that I have with this is the fact that their shots don't increase, and pirates only have 4 shots. These guys still have 4 shots, so kind of limited. You know, it's like a ranged unit that's almost not a ranged unit because they don't have a whole lot of shots, and they do have no melee penalty and no enemy retaliation, so kind of weird. Usually you're not going to be going for this upgrade unless you have a decent number of these guys, like in a box or you know, from external dwellings or something like that. And also usually you're not really going for this upgrade in particular. You're going for the second upgrade, which is the Sea Dogs, right, which makes them way more useful. So, you know, this is kind of a stepping stone to that, so that's why they're a little bit lower on the list, but still, you can make these guys useful as well because of their no retaliation and no melee penalty. All right, so next I'm going to rank the Ice Elementals and the Dragonflies. So Ice Elementals, pretty decent. They become ranged units, right? So the regular Water Elementals are melee units. The Ice Elementals, they don't get a stat boost. They only get +1 speed, but they do become ranged units, right? Which can come in handy in certain cases. So it depends. Again, you know, as I mentioned with the Storm Elemental upgrade for Conflux, sometimes you want them to stay melee units, right? Because, for example, if you're taking them into a hive and you're relying on a stack of Air Elementals in a hive, it's going to be better than a stack of Storm Elementals because the Dragonflies will close the gap right away, and the Storm Elementals will be dealing damage with penalty since they're ranged. So same story with the Ice Elementals. If you have the regular water elementals in hives, they will do more damage since the dragonflies will close the gap right away. But in a case where you find like a box of ice elementals, or you have external dwellings that will give you large enough numbers to actually make a difference in fights, and you use them as ranged units, I can definitely see going for this upgrade, especially since as Conflux, you do have the freedom to build these, because you generally are not really going for phoenixes, or sometimes you may go for magic elementals, but in many cases all you got to build is the magic university to buy earth magic and potentially air magic, so you kind of have the freedom to build whatever you want after you get that. And this is definitely something that you can do if the numbers of water elementals that you have justify getting the upgrade. All right, and as far as the Dragonflies go, definitely a good upgrade, and it is something that increases their speed by a lot. So the regular Serpentflies are already pretty fast. They have speed 9. The Dragonflies have speed 13, which is awesome because it allows you to outspeed your opponent in a lot of cases, right? Even if he has angels, that still means that you outspeed him with speed 13, unless, of course, he has, plus speed artifacts. So really good to have that. Also really good to utilize these as 1 stacks because they dispel beneficial spells, and they can even remove anti-magic. If your opponent is relying on 1 strong stack and he anti-magics them, you can still use these guys to remove that. And it also casts weakness on whatever you're fighting. So And as far as the stat increase, they get +1 attack and +1 defense. But I would say the biggest thing is the fact that they get speed 13, because that is, as you guys know, speed is pretty much king, and especially in the later stages and in the late game. So, when you get a speed 13 unit, it's kind of tough to outspeed for your opponent, and some towns have a really hard time outspeeding it, like Cove, for example. Cove just doesn't have a unit with speed 13, or Stronghold. Stronghold is even worse. The fastest thing that they have is speed 11 Thunderbirds, so it's really tough for Stronghold to outspeed something like this. All right, and next I am gonna rank the Sea Dogs. So the only unit on this list that has a second upgrade, right, from Pirates to Corsairs to Sea Dogs, and the Sea Dog upgrade is pretty OP because, well, first of all, it does give them more better stats. It increases their attack by 2 and defense by 3 from Corsairs. So if we compare them to Pirates, that's a total of +4 attack and +5 defense. It also increases their speed to 8. So again, from regular Pirates, that's +2 speed. And it does finally give them more shots. So kind of like the problem that I had with the Corsairs is they only have 4 shots still. These guys have 12 shots, and they still have that no melee penalty and no enemy retaliation. And the biggest thing, of course, about them is their accurate shot ability, which gives you a chance to inflict basically like a death stare from Mighty Gorgons, but ranged, right? With an accurate shot, with a straight arrow, you have a 3% chance, I believe, per Sea Dog to inflict the accurate shot. With a broken arrow, it's 1.5% chance. I think I'm correct. So let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But it's really, really a great upgrade. It does cost a lot. It costs, I believe, 5 of each resource and I think 5,000 gold to build the second upgrade. It takes you a while to build it because you also need the blacksmith. So you need blacksmith, the pirate building, then the pirate upgrade, and then the Sea Dog upgrade. So it's turn 4 that you can get them at the earliest. And usually you'll be going for the Oceanid upgrade on turn 1, so usually turn 5. But the reason that I don't have these guys in the top spot, which, on paper, they are the best, and, as far as they're almost like a tier 4 unit because, well, they are like a double upgrade, so really, they're awesome. But the thing that makes them awesome is mostly the accurate shot, well, partly the accurate shot, and the thing is that anything that you have a chance to inflict, like the Stone Gaze or, even the Mighty Gorgon's Death Stare, I don't really like depending on chance, right? Of course, if you have large numbers of these, you will have a much better chance of inflicting that accurate shot, and in certain cases that can be indispensable when you're fighting something like crystal dragons, for example, right? And you can protect them with tactics, and imagine just one-shotting a a crystal dragon with something like 20 of these. That can be really, really good. But, again, you are relying on that RNG, and usually you're not going to have huge numbers of these unless you find a few external dwellings or a box or something like that. So for that reason, I have them in A tier. While really, really good, that little bit of RNG that you are relying on with the accurate shots, kind of made me rank these on A tier and not S tier. All right, and the top tier, the S tier, is going to be the Grand Elf upgrade. So I rank these higher than the Sea Dogs because they are just more reliable, right? So they're straightforward, they don't have any crazy abilities, but you do double their damage potential. So you do 2 attacks, right? You also increase their speed by 1. Their stats remain the same, but the biggest thing is that they get a double attack, a double shot, rather than a single shot like the regular Wood Elf. So really, I would say The only one on this list that is almost always essential. The only way that is not essential is if you're not playing as Ivor, if you're starting with like Mephala, for example, and you're relying more on like centaurs or something like that. But even in those cases, I still feel like you would be upgrading these in most scenarios. The only way you don't upgrade these is if you go for dragons on week one, because to build dragons on week one as Rampart, you have to skip both the Centaur upgrade and the Grand Elf upgrade, and that's of course if you don't find a hill fort, right? So, but in most cases, like 95% of games, you are going for the Grand Elf upgrade, and I mean doubling your damage potential, just like with Marksman in the Tier 2 upgrades tier list, I feel like is really solid and really reliable. You know, something that is much better than any other upgrade. You know, just doubling your damage output potential is always really, really good. Alright guys, on that note, I am going to end this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you would rank something differently and why. And as always, check out my Twitch stream if you want to see more Heroes 3 content in English, link in the description below, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.